Welcome to the Shatterproof Entrepreneur, where we explore the resilience and faith-driven principles behind successful entrepreneurs. Today, we're joined by Jeff Allain, a seasoned entrepreneur and financial expert who's dedicated his career to helping startups and small business. He's an EOS guy. He's super interesting. I chatted with him a little bit before the show, and we'll see where the spirit takes us today, but I think it's going to be a valuable conversation. Jeff, welcome to the Shatterproof Entrepreneur.
Hey, Scott. Thanks for having me.
You bet. So you've got tons of experience in the entrepreneur world. You've got a CPA designation behind your name. You said recovering, but that's not easy to get. As we talked about, I've got a son that's working towards that. I know how hard it is to earn it. So tell me a little bit about yourself and your journey, because I tried to give you the best intro I can, but I know I left some gaps.
Yeah, sure. So I am physically located in Rhode Island. I'm happily married. I'm 49 years old. I got two boys that are 14 and 16. And as you mentioned, or I refer to myself as a recovering CPA. So I went to school, majored in accounting, and that I just kind of fell into it, but I think I fell into it gracefully. And I spent, about 15 years at some of the larger public accounting firms. And in that world, and I'm talking PricewaterhouseCoopers, RSM McGladrey, Deloitte and Touche, it's a grind. I mean, it's a great place to be, tons of training, tons of exposure. You learn the fundamentals of accounting, you get close to business, but what happens in that world is they take 15 years of your life and a pound of flesh, and then it's welcome to the table. And in the professional services world, that's partnership. And that's actually what happened to me. I was offered that. And I thought that that was what I was going to do. And when I was actually given that opportunity, I was faced with a crossroads. I had started doing office hours at what's called a startup accelerator. You mentioned entrepreneurs earlier. And so at a startup accelerator, what will happen is folks will go in with an idea. So they're not even startups. They'll just have an idea. They'll go through a 3-month process where they get tons of mentorship. And the idea is at the end of that 3 months, if the idea has legs and maybe a viable business opportunity, there's what's called demo day, and you get funded by investors. If not, if the business idea doesn't have legs, they're like, listen, don't quit your day job, like don't spend any time or any money, and it's helpful. I mean, you're doing it in this confined period. Yeah. So I stumbled into this and I started doing office hours as a CPA. And I was answering questions, and a lot of it was around, folks were building financial models to raise capital, thinking about that demo day to launch the idea. And what happened is at the end of demo day, when demo day came around, 2 teams that I got really close with had closed on $2 million each of seed funding. That was right around the same time that I was offered partnership. So I had this fork in this road. And my wife, she was awesome. My wife's name is Lindsay. She was super encouraging. And I'd come home from work, and I guess the 1 or 2 days a month that I'd be at the accelerator doing just office hours, I'd be bouncing off the wall. She'd go, how's your day? And I'm kind of doing this. And she saw the writing. When I was at the CPA firm, the more traditional firm, it was just, how was your day? And I'm like, I don't want to talk about it. It was a grind. And so she saw that I had this excitement. She encouraged me to take this leap. And so I jumped on board with these 2 entrepreneurial companies, being there part-time. I mean, it was everything. I mean, these were 3 founders and $2 million. So I was doing a little bit of everything with them. But I think what it was, Scott, was I fell in love with the concept of entrepreneurship. These were just very smart people doing very interesting things, willing to put it all on the line. And what I had to offer was just my gifting and ability. Like purely, I had the technical stuff. I had the accounting background, the finance background. I could get in front of investors and speak intelligently. So I certainly had that. But I had this new inspiration, like working with these folks, that I just couldn't explain it. I mean, it brought me back to the beginning of my career when you first start working and you're just like, you're ready to go. I was feeling re-inspired, reinvigorated. So I jumped ship. CPA land told me it was the biggest mistake of my career. They would like, you shouldn't do this. This is going to be horrible. And quite frankly, it was, I don't know, it was probably one of the best decisions that I could have made. And it just started this amazing journey, new economy. The company that I'm the founder and CEO is now about 10 and a half years old. That's
Nice.
the story of origin there.
Yeah. So, the Shatterproof Entrepreneur is all about faith-driven success. And we talked earlier, and in fact, you opened for us in prayer, which I loved. So tell us how you met Jesus and how he's made a difference in your journey.
Yeah, love to share on that. So I was fortunate and blessed where, when you actually talk about meeting Jesus, it was a gift that my parents sort of instilled in me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Jesus is in our heart, and they just watered that seed as a young boy. I remember, going to Sunday school, for example. Sort of moved away from my faith, my college years, early professional years, and then when I met my wife, we found our faith together, refound our faith together. And what's interesting about it is, I can remember where I had this fork in the road and I needed to make this decision. I remember being at church processing whether or not, prayerfully, whether or not I was going to give my notice on that Monday morning, and I like going into work the next morning.
Mm-hmm.
God, I was in tears, man. Like I was just because it was a big deal. My
Yeah.
wife was a stay-at-home mom. My boys at the time were 3 and 5. And I remember I was in tears and I was praying at church, and my family wasn't with me. My family was in New Jersey, so I was alone at church. I was just giving it to God, and I'm like, "Do you want me to do this?" And I guess I was waiting for this audible voice, which I kind of don't really hear very much. I've learned how to abide and walk in the kingdom and hear God's voice, but for me, it's never been this audible voice. I'm in Rhode Island. I remember specifically getting on 95, driving up to Providence, and I got to the first exit, and I heard like this audible voice, like, "This is what you are going to do. I will provide and I will take care of you." And I just knew at that moment, and I've told this story over and over again. I just knew in that moment, at the end of that day on Monday, I was giving my notice. Now, I had no clue what the Lord was going to be doing to me and through me in this business, which included so many things. And the journey just keeps on getting sweeter and better. And it's this ultimate reliance upon him. I think as an entrepreneur, and with a growing business, and we're in some challenging times right now. The business is healthy, the culture's healthy, but we've had an employee that had a pretty significant health diagnosis that had to step away. And so now you're managing clients and capacity that's gone. And then we had another team member that didn't work out. And all at once, and this is impacting 12 to 15 clients. And just through my walk with the Lord and how this is being handled right now in my heart, it's like, imagine going through circumstances like that where you're valuing people before results. So you're loving people, you're at peace, you're being gentle, you're being patient. All the fruits of the Spirit are coming through. And it's been this ongoing process. We were talking earlier about my favorite scripture, and I'm like, well, it depends on where I'm at in my life. I think there are three books that constantly going through, and one of them is John 15, and it's sort of this
Mm.
dwelling and always being connected to the vine, being an entrepreneur with this rough and tumble, growing a business, and you think you're in control. You are not in control, and the Lord lets you know that, but he's always providing. He is just so good, and that has just brought me closer and closer to him, where my walk with the Lord, it's like I was talking earlier about just the fruits of the Spirit. Everything is dependent upon my walk with the Lord. Like if I'm walking strongly with him every morning and meeting him and listening to him, no matter what's going on around me, it's all good. It still may be a challenge. It still may be hard, but that foundation's there that he's there and he will provide. So,
Yeah.
I've met him. I met him early and I'm meeting him literally every day. And it's just been awesome.
Yeah. So one of the things I like to talk about on the show is routines, and so you just talked about the everyday meeting you have with the Lord. Tell us a little bit about what your success routine looks like. So because one of the fastest way to success is modeling. So kind of you've made some successful moves and are living at a place that a lot of people would like to be. Tell us some routine that you have that kind of helps you maintain that.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think, I'm fortunate where I think again the business and the challenges around it brought this level of humility to me. Like I was at this big firm where I thought I knew everything, I thought I knew how to lead, I thought I knew how to manage. Came the new economy, and I really didn't. And so it started with humility and realizing that I really did need the Lord, and I wanted Him, and I wanted to meet Him. So I think probably about 8 years ago, the way that it started was I started getting up early in the morning. And I would give the first fruits, the first part of my morning to the Lord. So I get up every morning. Very first thing I do is I do breathing exercises just to get my body warmed up. I do a little Wim Hof video. I move then into just a silent meditation just to clear my mind. And what I've learned for myself, and there's a lot going on with mental health out there in the world right now, and just
Hmm.
stress that we have. The ability to quiet the mind has enabled me to open my heart. And so opening my heart is then being able to hear from the Lord. So that's kind of the second thing that I do is I meditate and I just have some quiet time. Then I move into the word. I move into prayer and then I move into the word, and it's this constant, Father, what do you have for me today? Like what do you have for me right in front of me today? Where do you want me to be? And it's continuously trying to walk with him. And so I spend probably with those three things about a good hour and 15, 20 minutes. I'm also hydrating a lot at that time, first thing in the morning. And then I'll do a final 10 to 15 minutes where I'll every day chipping away at a business book. So you mentioned we run on EOS at New Economy. I just wrapped up Traction. So for probably a good 3 months, 10 minutes every morning. At the end of that routine, I'm reading some sort of business book. The other one that
Hmm.
I'm now just started is called Dream Manager. It's one that I'm reading now. And I've been very consistent with that routine. But I think that the most important part of the whole routine, and I'm encouraging my children. I run a Bible study. I'm on the leadership team at my church, my wife, anybody that'll listen. It's like, you got to get up in the morning and you got to start walking with the Lord, and you've got to be in prayer. You've got to be in the word, and everything else in your life will then just get better. So that's sort of my routine there.
Yeah, and that it's that mindfulness, right? And that's something that, if I remember right, you even have some kind of certification in. Is that correct?
I do. Yeah. It's called Mindful Leader. It's a not-for-profit. And what's interesting about that is, I was doing about this was helping me in my faith walk. I did about a year of discipleship with my pastor. When I came on to the leadership team at my church, we were having a cup of coffee, and he was sort of interviewing me. I was sort of interviewing him, and we ended up in this discipleship relationship. And he was very much encouraging me just to constantly be in the Word, constantly be in the Word. So it's been something that just has been so instrumental in my life. And it's just been anybody that'll listen, that's where I think they need to be. I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I exactly answered your question.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, so you've got some
Yeah,
certification that is, you're not just making this stuff up. You've done some training that's helped you with, like you talked about, the breathing and the quieting your
yeah,
mind.
yeah.
Um, that there's
This is
so
where I was
much.
going to go.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. So this is where I was going to go with that. Through that discipleship, we were questioning routines. Like what routines are healthy and going to make you effective with your walk with the Lord? And
Yeah.
will this meditation, there's Eastern philosophy, will
Yep.
this, right, open some sort of other door, spiritual
Hmm.
warfare? Like, is this healthy? And it was such an interesting conversation that I had with him over it. And I really, really evaluated it. And for me, it was the meditation and that certification was just something that it was amazing. It made more space for me to hear from God. That's simply all that it did. And then he's like, then keep doing it. Like if your heart is open to the Lord because you're able to quiet the mind, then keep doing it. And so that has helped me. That has helped with, I think also just some stress management overall. I think we're a very intense dopamine addicted society, myself included. We get these
Hmm.
smartphones and we're always on them. This ability to sit and quiet the mind, it's a wonderful posture to be in. And it's such a gift to give to yourself. And you can eliminate all those other distractions. But Yeah, I just wanted to come back to that because I was going down this path with my pastor. I'm like, how did I get down here? And he was challenging me on it. He was challenging me and I appreciated it. And it's something that honestly I've brought to New Economy. So every Tuesday for 15 minutes, for those that want it, it's just an opportunity. We just sit. And the guided meditation is nothing more than find a comfortable seat, close your eyes, and just breathe. Think about it. God, he breathed life into us. Just this concept of breathing is such a beautiful thing. And just take that gift in and just quiet yourself down. So we'll just go through, like, if your mind's wandering, that's okay. Just bring it back to your breath. And it's as simple as that. And so been doing that with that certification, which taught me how to do it for probably about a year now. And we probably have anywhere from 5 to 7 people. We're a 20-person company that show up every Tuesday to do it.
Hey there, it's Scott Reed, cutting in for a quick moment. If you're enjoying the podcast and finding value in our discussions, you're going to love the Access Plan. It's designed for entrepreneurs like you, offering unlimited legal advice without the worry of high hourly fees. With the Access Plan, you can get the legal support you need at a flat monthly rate so you can focus on growing your business with confidence. Head over to reblaw.com/access to learn more and join Access now and get busy shatterproofing your business. Now let's get back to our amazing guest. As I go around and speak around the country, I'm with lots of different groups, and they're not all Christian groups. And so I do see a lot of, I will see a lot of meditation, more the Eastern mysticism type, so help me help the listeners understand what you figured out is what's the difference, what's healthy for a Christian to do in the meditation world, and what should we avoid?
Yeah, so I think with some of it, I think there's a physical side to it. I think with meditation in and of itself and these Eastern forms, people might be in front of an altar, right? You might be meditating in front of some sort of altar. There's none of that. I mean, I'm doing this on my couch, quite frankly, with my Bible open in front of me. So I think there's this physical thing behind it of setting intentions, and that starts with the space. And so for me, my Bible's always out. It's part of my time with the Lord where I'm removing things, the intention. Now I'm moving into like the intellectual side of this. The intention is to clear my mind so my heart's open so I can hear the Lord. I mean, I don't know about you, but I wake up every morning and I'm ready to go. And I probably got about 30 things on my list that it's like, right? And it's no, going to spend the time with the Lord. And so I think a big part of it is starting with truly your intention. It's all about matters of the heart. Where is your heart? What are you seeking? Who are you seeking? I'm always seeking the Lord, and I'm looking for quietness so I can hear him. And the more quiet that I can get, the more quiet that my mind can get, I'm learning that the louder I can hear the Lord's voice. And it's also, I got to walk with him daily. If you want to know him, you've got to constantly be walking with him. So those two things hand in hand have been able to really help me. So I think the biggest thing is just your intention and where your heart's at with this.
Well, and he says, "Be still and know that I am God." And so, in this crazy world that we live in, like you said, your smartphones and laptops and just all the stuff we do, it's very difficult to be still and quiet. You have to be intentional and go find a place to do that, because it's not natural in today's world. It's loud and fast and moving and not still. So I appreciate you sharing that with us, and I hope that someone listening needed to hear that they need to pull away, get with the Lord, get with their Bible, and not just spend it all their time in the Word, which is they should, but spend some time just being quiet with the Lord. It's hard for God to talk to you if you're constantly talking. So slow down a little bit, be quiet, and hey, see what happens, and then hey, let us know how it works out. I'd love to hear some testimonies. Well, I know that you've had some challenges in the last 10 years, for sure, in this world with New Economy. What are some challenges that you kind of have gone through, and tell us how that turned out?
Yeah, so I've had I mean, we're in a bit of a season right now, and I think it's a bit of, I was reflecting upon it. I think it's a bit of a pruning season, and it's healthy, but it's change, and change can be difficult. And so that's bringing me, again, it's bringing me closer to the Lord and just trusting. I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty, but it's just trusting in Him. I mentioned earlier, valuing people before results, loving people, seeing people the way that God would. And that also means being, in my mind, it also means being very clear with people. It could mean loving people out if we need to love people out, if they'd be better suited somewhere else, because we're stewards of people's times. And that's a very
Mm-hmm.
big responsibility. So I mentioned that earlier in the podcast. I had a few individuals that were going through some stuff, but there was one that was pretty big. It was in probably about 2017, 2018, so maybe 4 or 5 years into New Economy's journey. And just by way of background, we're at about 10 years. We're a fully remote firm, so we're coast to coast. I'm on the East Coast, but we have clients coast to coast. Our employees are coast to coast. We have 20 employees, probably about 45 regular reoccurring clients. We get deep with our clients. And essentially what we do is we help entrepreneurial companies gain control of their finances to make smart decisions. That's what we do. And so very early on, I think 4 years into the journey, the thing was growing, the thing was humming along. And the fact of the matter is, we didn't have systems, we didn't have processes. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't being a great steward. I was growing for the sake of growth, maybe caught up in the entrepreneurial journey more so than God's calling for me through this business. And I lost three key team members in a quarter. And that took the business from about $1 million in revenue 4 years into it down to $500,000 in 90 days.
Mm.
I mean, and so that was challenging. I had a lot of difficult conversations with folks, clients, and the option was like, try to and these are great people. Two of them left to go to clients that actually came back afterwards, which is
Mm.
interesting. And the other one had moved on and started their own business. But it was challenging, and I had a decision to make. Do I hire quickly to continue providing the services that we were, or
Mm-hmm.
do I have open and honest conversations with these folks that I love and care about, our customers, and just be totally vulnerable and let them know where we're at, and invite them into this decision? And that's what I chose to do. And I didn't want to just hire and rush to get people in and not be able to provide the caliber of service that New Economy should be providing. I mean, our mission is to unleash the full potential of the entrepreneur. That's why we're alive. It would be very hard for me to hire three people, key people, within a quarter, and this work is monthly, going reoccurring, and then plug them in to unleash the full potential of these entrepreneurs. So I worked through that, and that started my EOS journey. Somebody threw traction at me. I read the book. We hired a full-on implementer, but at the same time, it really brought me to my knees, and there was a lot of prayer and just discernment and seeking of the Lord, which is now, if you fast forward to the situation where I've talked about these two employees, working through these challenges, I am at peace. I am being gentle starting with myself and then with those around me, or at least I would like to think. I would love to get them on the podcast and you could ask
Ask
them
them.
firsthand. But like the fruits of the spirit are coming through, and it ties back into the routine, like knowing the Lord, knowing that He will provide. And I think businesses just in general, especially entrepreneurial growing businesses, none of us are, we're all going to have these moments and where it's going to be super challenging or super difficult. And our identity, this is a big thing that I am learning, have learned, and the Lord started earlier in the year with me with this. It's not in the business. And I think a lot of people, we can say that and we can know it, but where are our actions and our words then? If we say it and we know it, how are we acting and how are we speaking
Mm.
around that? And
Yeah.
so what's happened is with these challenges and the one that I'm dealing with right now, which isn't as big as the other one, my identity's in the Lord, but what He's gifted me with and some of the things that have been called out in me by others. And I've taken the fivefold test and a few of the others that are out there, the Enneagram. There's a ton of them, DISC,
Mm-hmm.
Colby. I'm an encourager. I'm a motivator.
See that?
I'm a problem solver, right? So these adverse circumstances come my way. I can back away and listen to my false self. I can listen to the lies. I'm not good enough, or I got to control the situation, or I got to manipulate, and I got to, or I can know who I am and the gifting that the Lord is giving me and shine that light on every situation and view that as an opportunity and
Yeah.
trust Him with the outcome. Like literally, you've given me these gifts. I'll steward them. I'll use them for your glory and tell people about it. And you control the outcome. And I've kind of stopped playing God. Like I think that first go around early on had a lot of growth, like in my faith walk through new economy and through these challenges. And so with this other one that isn't as big, it's just my hands are off the wheel and I'm just using my gifting, using the things that the Lord has given me and trusting that he will provide. And I know he will provide. It may not even look like how I want it to,
Hmm.
and I'm still okay with that. I'm still working on this. I'm a work in process. It's a journey. But in my heart of hearts, like if the thing burned to the ground, it's okay. God's going to provide. And it's not, I don't feel like he's calling me somewhere else, but it's literally that okay. I'm convinced that he will provide to that level.
Yeah. If he does, it's okay. We'll do what's next. Ben, you've said some really great things. I love hearing business people talk about the fruit of the spirit, and if you're listening, um, and if you're a mature Christian, you know exactly what we're talking about. And as a person, you probably are more focused on are you exhibiting the fruits of the spirit? But take it to the business level, and are you doing it at work? Is your business? I mean, your business should be bearing the same kind of fruit. If it's a Christ-centered company, and if you're the owner of it, it should be. Then it should be having that same kind of fruit. You know, you should be treating people kind and helping them be better. You should be showing them patience. I mean, all these things should be happening in your business, and I know I've been guilty of this. A lot of us have. It's almost like we have these double lives, that we're a Christian when we're not at work, and when we're at work, we're a business person. No, you're
Yes.
a Christian all the time, and it should be flowing through your business, and it should be out there when you're talking on social media. It should just all blend. It's all one thing. It's who you are. Your identity isn't an entrepreneur or business owner. Your identity is a son or daughter of God, and that you're in business for Him. He owns it all. So that's just been such a cool thing for you to do, and to show that perspective of how you live that way through your entrepreneurial journey. That's pretty awesome. Well, what do you see in the future? I know we're in interesting times because things are changing so rapidly from a technology standpoint. What are you seeing coming down the path in business that's going to change how you do things?
Yeah, so we are, I'd say, somewhat of early adopters relating to technology.
I would think.
Being a fully remote firm office, new technology that's coming out is super beneficial to us. So in our space, there's now lots of technology that we're able to leverage. Things like bill pay. Back in the day, you'd have a bookkeeper sitting there entering like an invoice into a system, and now we're doing it with phones, and there's uploads and there's approving and reviewing that's literally happening anywhere at a fraction of the time of what it used to be. So a lot of the processing work has changed. And I think in our space, in our industry, there's been some pushback by some folks because they were feeling like maybe their jobs or the value of their time would go down or go
Hmm.
away. And we actually took a very different position. We felt like it enabled us to add more value. So let's find a home for automation. Let's find a home for the technology. The machine learning, for example, is another one. And so when we let that run its course, what it allows us to do is connect as advisors with our customers. And so we're actually spending our time in seeking to spend our time having a seat at the table, talking with them, taking the data and the numbers, and what's the story? What's the narrative? Are we on track? Are we off track? What would need to change to get back on track?
Hmm.
And so technology is ripe right now. Chat GPT. We do blog posts. Chat GPT could write a blog post in half a second, and then you could just keep reiterating it. So
Mm-hmm.
there's tons of opportunities, and I think for us, it's being thoughtful about it and just making sure that it really truly makes sense. But it's been something that we've been able to embrace, and it's really been able to help our business grow. And from a talent perspective, we're not just confined. I'm in the Northeast. We're hiring coast to coast, and that's all technology. So it's only continuing to increase the speed at which technology is coming out and making things more efficient, more effective. And
Yep.
so we're just adopting it and trying to help as many people as we can.
You mentioned bill pay, and I like to try to bring new tools to the audience. What should they be looking at as far as bill pay?
Yeah, there's a bunch of them that are really low-hanging fruit. On the bill pay side, there's a company by the name of Bill.com. And so it's sort of it's a piece of technology that the technology will do its thing, but it can also automate process and make process much smoother. So the process of actually paying a bill, on one hand, you think of file cabinets and invoices in file cabinets. Well, part of this process now is the file cabinets up in the cloud. So you snap a digital image of this invoice and it gets housed up in the cloud. And then the approval for payment of this invoice, have we received the goods, have we received the service? It's literally happening online, like whether you're in front of a laptop, whether you're in front of your smartphone, somebody can approve it, and then the payment's happening. So again, back to the process. If you got the old school vendor filing cabinet, you probably got somebody handwriting checks and signing checks. We're not handwriting checks and signing checks. The checks are being sent through the platform at a very, very low cost, like cents on the dollar. So it speeds things up, it mitigates risk and errors, and then it frees people up to do higher value tasks. If you think about it that way. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So guys, go take a look at Bill.com. There's others, but check that out and figure out where you can be using technology to help you increase the systems and processes that you're implementing in your company so that you can spend more time on the high value part of your business, which is normally interacting with clients and building those relationships, or working on the business and figuring out what are the next steps as far as strategy and tactics. So, man, this has been amazing. It's been like drinking from a fire hose. I love it. So glad that you came on the show. Before we part ways, how could the audience connect with you?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I could be emailed. It's Jeff, Jeff, at neweconomycpa.com. We have a website, www.neweconomycpa.com. If folks go there, we got a couple of free tools. We got blogs that go out twice a month that are relevant and they're timely. And on the website also, we have two things. One is you could schedule a meeting with me if anybody would love to chat. Happy to chat with anybody about my faith walk, about the business, about their business. The second thing we have up on the website is a bi-weekly newsletter. And so folks could subscribe to that. It's pretty short and sweet, but it speaks to the entrepreneur. So that'd be the best way for folks to find us.
Great. Well, like I said, thank you so much. There's been tons of value in this conversation for me. I think everyone else will agree as well. Before we part ways, I'd like to offer you a blessing. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. May the rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've enjoyed this as much as I have, like and subscribe, reach out to Jeff and get some of those free tools and have a conversation with him. And until next time, stay Shatterproof. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be taken as professional advice. While I'm your host, Scott Reed, and a lawyer, I'm not your lawyer, and this podcast does not establish an attorney-client relationship. The views expressed by my guests are their own and not mine, and they may not even reflect the opinion of the Shatterproof Entrepreneur podcast. So we strive to provide valuable and accurate content, but we make no representations as to the accuracy, completeness, or suitability of any information to your particular situation and won't be liable for any errors or omissions for the application of them. Always consult a professional or in the respective area that we've discussed before making any personal or business decisions.